Welcome everybody to the third annual Wonder Women of Latin Music panel presented by Amazon Music. We are here as part of the legendary Latin Alternative Music Conference. I'm your host, Angie Romero, and I'm from Amazon Music Latin. And let me tell you, it is an absolute honor to be here surrounded by this extraordinary group of women, of individuals who are each driving change and innovation in their own lanes, but collectively, they represent some of the brightest and most exciting talent in our industry. So let's give them a warm welcome in the chat. Let's feel the love. Gracias por acompañarme aquí hoy en este día tan especial. Nos vamos a pasar bien. Vamos a conversar en Spanglish. Vamos a escuchar historias, anécdotas, compartir consejos. Vamos a compartir mucho, la vamos a pasar bien. Y claro, vamos a hablar de la música. Para eso estamos, right? First off, I want to officially introduce you to our amazing panelists. Vamos a empezar con Goyo, a Latin Grammy Award-winning icon and vocalist of the Colombian collective Town. Bienvenida, Goyo.
Hola, how you doing? Saludo a todas las mujeres que están aquí. Gracias por la invitación.
Claro que sí. Luego también tenemos aquí a Marissa Lopez, encargada de Latin Artist Relations en Apple Music. Bienvenida, MLO.
Gracias por la invitación. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Angie.
Claro que sí. Yvette Medina, CEO and founder of Creative Management Firm. Sus clientes incluyen Echo y Paloma Mami. Bienvenida, Yvette.
Hola, muchas gracias. Thank you guys for having me.
Claro que sí. Tenemos a Iveliesse Malavé, Senior VP of Communications at the Latin Recording Academy. Bienvenida.
Gracias. Bienvenidos todos y todas.
Y last but not least, Villano Antillano, one of the most exciting new voices in the urban movement coming out of Puerto Rico and a proud member of the queer community. ¿Cómo estamos? ¿Cómo nos sentimos?
Súper bien, encantada de estar aquí.
Qué lindo. Bueno, muchísimas gracias. La vamos a pasar bien hoy. I want to start this conversation talking about career paths. In career paths of very successful people like yourselves, I find that there's usually a breakthrough moment. A breakthrough moment is something that sets you off on a trajectory of success. And it's a moment after you make a critical leap, so to speak, that propels you forward. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. But I want to talk about if you could identify that breakthrough moment for each of you that you feel has put you where you are today. I want to start with Marissa.
How did I know you were going to come to me? You know my story, Angie.
I know your story.
I know you know my story. So I think, I've thought about this one actually, and it goes back to 2000, 22 years ago.
Wow.
I was at La Banda Elástica and I was in school and I was given the opportunity to go on Watch It Tour. For all those that have been around for many years knows the legacy of what Watch It Tour was in its moment. Fabulosos Cadillacs, Aterciopelados, Maldita Vecindad. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Wow.
It was the golden era of rock en español, right?
Mm.
And so my mom, I had to leave for about a month, a little over a month, and it was to tour with all the bands. And I'll never forget that moment of being on tour and not believing that my mom actually let me go. You know, soy mexicana y uno de latino, yo jamás había viajado sin mi mami, es la verdad. Yo jamás en esa época no había viajado sin mi familia. Así que imagínate, con puros hombres, bueno, Echeverry, que la adoro, shout out.
Yes.
Sí habíamos Yvette, Corona de la época, habíamos unas mujeres, pero no, la mayoría eran hombres, Molotov, enanitos, o sea, todos hombres. Y para que mi mami, ella me dijo, no quería, I didn't want to clip your wings. you needed to fly.
Mm.
I wanted to support you, and who better than it to be your mother? And that to me was a breakthrough moment, because I feel like having the support of your family is essential in this industry. And my mom showed it to me since day one. And I never looked back. I never looked back. So
I love that so much. You had your mommy's blessing. What is more important in life than that, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Villano, cuéntame.
Wow, I feel like I've had several breakthrough moments along my career path, but I feel like at one point when I started doing music and when I started just like playing and doing gigs out here in PR, which is not an easy thing to do. And when you come from a community such as the one that I come from, where you're persecuted and killed, it can get crazy. So I feel like my breakthrough moment was just actually realizing that I could do this and that I had the love and support of my family and my chosen family, which is my community. So I feel like I have those moments every day when I have people come up to me. Like in the beginning it was a lot because people would like cry and I could not empathize. I was like, why is this person crying? Because they met me. But then but then I realized that sometimes you don't really know like what you mean to someone, or like what they see in you, or how they see themselves reflected in what you're doing. And I kind of got it. So I feel like I have those breakthrough moments every day, and they're very connected to people and how my story or like what I do makes them feel.
That's beautiful. What a beautiful blessing to be able to experience that over and over. That's magical. Thank you for sharing that. Goyo,
Thank you.
cuéntame, tu breakthrough moment.
Bueno, yo pienso cuando empecé con Chucky Town y recuerdo que, bueno, buscando la manera de encontrar más espacios y de brincar un poquito, de tocar en el barrio, empezar como con muchas luchas, y recuerdo que estuve en un festival en Europa y fue como que se llama Womex, ajá, y como que tuvimos un show y de ese show salieron como 30 shows más, y para nosotros era como algo increíble, ¿sí? Que sin la gente conocernos, que sin escuchar mucho nuestra música, podríamos estar en muchos festivales y siendo como que line-up en momentos fuertes de los festivales. Entonces, estábamos como en ese momento allá tocando y todo eso. Y cuando llegamos a Colombia, no sabíamos que el impacto que había causado en Europa, pues la gente como que nos conocía más, y entonces vino la nominación del Grammy y nosotros prácticamente como que no estábamos en el radar de estas cosas ni soñábamos con eso. Yo creo que para una banda que viene de donde nosotros venimos, encontrar espacios que si ahora es más difícil, pues encontrarlos antes, entonces como que me siento muy agradecida por el momento y por también abrir puertas, porque eso hizo que muchos artistas más de mi comunidad pudieran también ir y seguir como mostrando la música. Entonces, para mí eso es un momento importante y que cambió nuestras vidas. Desde ahí empezamos a tocar en muchos lados, a mucha gente a hablar de nosotros en nuestro mismo país, que no estaba pasando. Entonces es muy motivador, ¿sí? Encontrar que cuando tú piensas que no hay puertas que se van a abrir, empezar a abrir puertas es muy motivante, y es lo que me tiene hoy todavía aquí en la industria desde el 2004, que lanzamos el primer sencillo muy chiquitos nosotros, hasta ahora.
Qué maravilla. Y la magia de festivales continúa hasta el día de hoy. O sea, como estaba hablando
Exacto.
también Marissa, no hay nada como esa experiencia. Y sigue,
Exacto.
y después de los últimos 2 años, pues por volver a reunirnos para el Latin Alternative Music Conference también este año, bailar juntos, vibrar por la música de artistas como ustedes es algo muy mágico. Ya me imagino esa experiencia. Yvette, breakthrough moment.
I think my breakthrough moment was really when I had already been working in the music industry for a few years, and I've worked at, different areas, from booking to working at the label. And my breakthrough moment was really that I went from Sony to moving over and being the head of marketing for Pitbull. And I think for me, that was huge. Going to go work for him personally, it was kind of like a reassurance that all these things that I had, obstacles or different opportunities or risks that I had taken from moving across the country or whatnot was just solidified in him. At that moment, he was the biggest artist in the world. He was #1. And, he saw my hard work that I was just doing for him at the label. And he really took that and just knew that I would be the right person. He could have chosen anyone really, but he was like, no, this is what's meant for you. You deserve this position. You've worked hard at it. And that was a game changer for me, because then everyone was kind of like, who is this person? What has she been doing? And if you know me, I kind of just work hard behind the scenes. I'm not one to try to have people recognize what I'm doing, but that moment just solidified it all for me, and what kind of just took my career to the next level.
I love that. And I think that you bring a really important point. I do want to take a moment to shout out the men who have been true allies to las mujeres in our industry, because they are out there. And I love to hear that Armando was that for you. And I do recognize he has surrounded himself by powerful women always. So shouts to Pitbull and people like him that really open doors for extraordinary talent like you, Yvette.
Thank you. Yes. Props to him.
Iveliesse.
Well, I'm your typical Puerto Rican girl that went to college, studied hard, majored in journalism, and got the corporate job and work. And then I made decisions based on salaries, on, moving. I want that title, I want the car, I want this, I want that. And then one day I was given the opportunity to work I worked for a PR agency for many years. And then one day I was given the opportunity to work on an account that had an entertainment edge. And it really put me to think, what is it that I want to do? I mean, I work in pharma, I work in government, I work in tech, I work in food. And one day I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. And back then it was a really wonderful time. The account was Cover Girl. And it was the time where Becky G was coming out. And I met her, and just by meeting her and seeing the next generation of Latinas in music, I wanted to tell those stories. I wanted to be behind those girls. And I fell in love with entertainment. People say it's crazy, it's long working hours. We all know that. It's crazy schedules. It can get really intense with the personalities, but this is what I live for, telling the stories of those women. And now at the Latin Recording Academy, I get to tell stories of people like Goyo, who's here today. And it really brings my heart full of joy to be able to showcase this incredible talent worldwide. So that was the breakthrough point.
That's super interesting. And I remember when the Cover Girl thing happened for Becky, it was relatively early in her career. And that was super cool. I remember being like, wow, shouts to Cover Girl to see the potential of an artist like this. Back then, she didn't have the numbers she has now or the influence, but there was those of us, I guess, who saw something really special in her. Shouts to Becky and everything that she has going on still to this day. That's amazing. I love all your breakthrough stories. And now I want to talk about the pivot moment, because also in extraordinary careers, you find there is usually a moment when you try something a little different. And it can be scary. And sometimes it leads you to a different path that maybe is not the path you're still on today. I don't want to say failure stories, but those are valuable too, because they always teach you something. But it's more about the pivot. Was there a time in your careers where you tried something and maybe it was a risk and it represented a pivot from your comfort zone? And if so, what was that like? This is kind of open question to whoever can relate to this.
Well, I'll go. I think this is recently, I think I've always worked at either big companies or, like I mentioned, with Pitt. So there was always some form of security, but I've always, since I worked with Pitt, management was, I was on his management team, his personal team, and that was kind of my passion always. And so after Rock Nation in 2018, I always kind of just wanted to go back to management. And even though I was approached by various different companies to go back and work in-house, I thought this is the moment. Either I do this by myself and try to sign artists that I want to work with personally versus me working at a company that signs artists, and we go in that direction. So it's now or never. But obviously for management, it's a harder direction when you're doing it by yourself, because you're gonna now live off of what your commission off of these artists. So you have to really be secure. This is it, because this is how you're gonna live and this is how it's gonna work. And I think it was the best decision. It's scary at first, but I've been blessed to have amazing artists and people that I work with, and we've made it happen, so that was just like a pivotal moment, because it could have gone left.
It can always go left. But what's wonderful to see you seem so now in your comfort zone, right? Even though it was super scary and uncomfortable at the time and it represented a risk, like everybody that sees you, well, of course she would go on to do that. Everything she did prepared her for that moment, but it's terrifying, I'm sure, to leave the security of the corporate world.
Yeah. Ok, yo puedo hablar. Yo pienso que tomar riesgos en las carreras es como que lo que uno vive diariamente, porque a veces es como tomar decisiones que te ayuden a crecer o que te sacan de la zona de confort. Entonces, first of all, I am a solo artist right now. Yo tengo un grupo que se llama Chucky Town, donde he estado durante mucho tiempo, but right now I am solo too.
We're loving it.
Yeah, para mucha gente es like a risk, pero para mí es como un sueño que siempre había.
Goyo, se fue el sonido un poquito, if we could, no sé qué pasó.
¿Ahí?
Ahí sí. Si quieres empezar un poquito desde atrás.
Ok. Bueno, para mí es casi que un riesgo, pensaría mucha gente que es casi que un riesgo que yo sea un artista solo ahorita, pero pienso que es como poner tus sueños desde lo más real y empezar a conectarte con la gente de manera individual. Tengo muchas cosas que puedo hacer o que quisiera hacer y que quizás con el grupo no podía. Entonces, tomar una decisión de esta con la madurez y la responsabilidad que conlleva de poder tener otros calendarios diferentes a los del grupo, de empezar con esta nueva carrera, es para mí muy importante, porque creo que es también mandar un mensaje que los sueños no son lineales, que los sueños y los momentos son de altos y de bajos, y que cuando uno acepta esas vulnerabilidades, pues uno debe tomar riesgos, porque la vida es así, ¿no? De cambios. Entonces estoy muy emocionada y motivada, y pues quiero mandarle el mensaje a los artistas. O sea, nosotros podemos ser quienes somos sin importar la historia que hemos escrito. Podemos seguir escribiendo historias y contando más historias. Entonces esa es como que mi motivación y mucho de lo que estoy sintiendo en este momento.
Me encanta todo lo que has dicho y veo el retrato que tienes detrás tuyo de ese legado de mujeres íconos, Lauryn Hill, Nina Simone, Celia Cruz. Siempre cuando te vi en Chucky Town, siempre pensé, como en todos mis grupos favoritos, ¿no? The Fugees, estaba Lauryn, siempre hay una poderosa figura femenina. y todos estamos tan felices que estás teniendo este momento y nos estás regalando realmente a nosotros lo que es poder escucharte como solista. Así que kudos por tomar ese quote unquote riesgo que realmente es it's your destiny.
Así es. Muchas gracias.
I don't know who else can relate to that pivot moment, but I'd love to hear.
I'll speak. I don't know why I always go back to the past, but it's those moments, you know, when you've been in this industry for this long, you look back and you're like, wow, that was a moment that really shaped my career, or shifted, I should say. And to Goyo's point, and Yvette, there are multiple pivot moments throughout your career, right? One of them that's dear to my heart was when I went from La Banda Elástica, which shout out to Maria and Emilio from back in the day. I still love them, very good people. I went from a magazine to music publishing. Had no idea what music publishing was. Had no idea about performing rights. I knew music. I knew rock and I knew alternative. You know, I knew who Molotov was. I knew who, you know, all of these bands were in what el legado que ellos tenían, right? And Yvonne saw something in me. Yvonne, shout out to Yvonne Drazen back then, Yvonne Gomez, you know.
Yeah.
Been in this industry for many years and I adore her like a sister. But you know, she really saw that in me to like just shift my entire career and say, no, you're going to learn music publishing. You got this, you know? Y por el riesgo, lo que estaba hablando Goyo is so true, is that que uno tiene que, you need to be self-assured of yourself first, right? Yeah. I can do this. I got this. No lo sé, pero lo voy a aprender and I'm going to become an expert at it, you know? And just believing in yourself. And I feel like that was a pivot moment for my career because I was going to go back to school because up to that point I had dropped out. And my mom was excited, guys. My mom was excited. She's like, oh my gosh, she's going back to school. Oh my God. Yes. And then Yvonne's like, wait, bring it back.
You got more to give here. Yeah.
No, but you know, everything happens for a reason and I'm so blessed. But that was a pivot moment, I feel like, you know, and music publishing's amazing. Highly recommend it. Yeah.
I mean, you had an extraordinary tenure there as well. That's where we met. And then there was another pivot after that led you where you are now. But that's really, really amazing. And I think you bring up something very interesting, which is the female figure that lends you a hand in that moment of pivot. And that leads us to our next topic, which is mentorship, because I strongly believe that none of us get to where we are without somebody, and it could be male, female, or several people that open the door. And maybe it represents a risk for them too, many times. So I want to take a moment to hear from you. Who are those mentor figures in your lives? And probably you have more than one, but talk to me a little bit. Let's give some flowers to those people.
Yikes. Son muchas mujeres.
Qué belleza.
De verdad, qué lindo, qué lindo. Yo creo que yo tengo que decir, hablando de pivots and mentoring and all that, I feel like I have a lot of them, but they're not necessarily like in the industry, ¿me entiendes? Como que I feel like my mentors son mujeres del día a día que me han enseñado lo que conlleva ser una mujer, ¿me entiendes? Desde todas las esquinas. Y pues obviamente, sin duda alguna, mi camino pues, ha sido un poco distinto y lo que yo represento es algo enteramente quizás distinto, pero es algo que siempre ha existido. Y para mí, momentos así, que son gente que quizás yo ni siquiera conocí, pero por ejemplo sus historias, cuando yo descubrí quién era Cristina la Veneno, y yo era una chamaca que estaba haciendo trabajo sexual en ese momento porque no tenía para sostenerme, me resonó mucho y fue como que, wow, yo no soy la única y esta mujer existió en los 90 y se quedó con todo. Entonces, a mí ciertamente como que me abrió los ojos y me despertó a que yo podía más y lo que me estaba deteniendo en realidad era el miedo. Y así tengo muchas mujeres en mi vida que cada día me demuestran que en verdad como que no hay límite.
Y qué lindo. Y estas historias de estas mujeres, más que nada las estás viendo en las redes, o cómo llegas a conocer.
Bueno, sobre Cristina la Veneno, sí, yo conocí sobre ella porque yo me pasaba demasiado tiempo en internet, demasiado. Y
God bless the internet.
sí, God bless YouTube y el algoritmo. Y de momento un día me como que like suggested me sale este video de Cristina la Veneno y quedé, o sea, quedé muerta para atrás, vuelta loca. Y luego me pongo a buscar información y me di cuenta que estaban haciendo una serie en España que la dirigieron los Javis y un elenco de gente enteramente queer y como que en verdad es una serie súper bien hecha sobre su vida. Entonces creo que a medida que van llegando como que estas historias ahora a estar en the spotlight, porque antes no pasaba, pues ahora como que el poder de la representación nos aplica a nosotras y a la gente como yo. Obviamente sí tengo un montón de mujeres en mi vida aquí en PR y en el Caribe y las mujeres trans que me han llevado de la mano, o sea, las tengo en carne y hueso, no solamente online,
Qué
pero
bello.
sí, siento que el poder de la globalización y el internet definitivamente nos ha ayudado como que a sacar estas historias y poder como que quizás darnos cuenta que somos más similares de lo que pensamos.
Ay, me encanta todo lo que has dicho. Y es verdad, qué bello. I want to hear somebody else's also mentorship story.
I can go. So I have a few, and they've been in my life since literally the beginning of my career, really. And the first one that I always give my props to is Daryl Eaton, who was the first agent at CAA that I had an opportunity to work for. He really, showed me how to be in this business. And throughout my career, I continue to work with him because, Enrique Iglesias and Pitbull would go on tour, and he's the agent for Enrique. And to this day, he's Paloma Mami's agent. He is the head now of, CAA Music. And he's always just been there to be supportive, but he really just gave me my shot. I was the only Latina that worked at CAA at that time.
Wow.
And he just allowed me to learn how to do a million things, and it only made me a better business person and executive now in the music industry, really because he showed me a lot along the way. But even then, besides him, there was always Bruno Del Granado, who I also met at CAA. He was Ricky Martin's manager at the time, and he's the one that got me my job after that. He was my recommendation to the next job and to the next. And I appreciate that, and even him now, he's always suggesting me for different opportunities. And, I love that about him. He's just an amazing person and to go to and get advice. And of course, like I mentioned, Pitbull, he just changed my life. Anytime I need something, he's the person that I call. Even when the hardest moment for me was to leave him to go on to become the GM at Rock Nation Latin when Romeo started that division. And I didn't even know how to call him and how to tell him. And he was just like, why are you upset? This is what you've been working for your whole life. You're going to go there, you're going to show them what you're made of, and you can always come back, but you're not going to need to. You're going to do this. And even when I decided I was going to try and start this company by myself, he was just what are you waiting for, kind of. And it was just kind of okay, yeah. He's like, you're not meant for corporate America, you're meant to be an entrepreneur and do great things. And me wanting to start a management company was what I told him back when I was at Sony. He's like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to have my own artist. And he's like, so that's what we're going to do, So all these men have been crucial at different parts of my career. But now, I still talk to them, and I still make important decisions based on, what they've taught me or their advice.
That's amazing. And the thing about being a mentor is if you do your job right, people will move on. People will move on. They will leave you eventually if they're working for you or with you. And that means you've done something right. And the loyalty stays, right?
Yes,
Forever.
that's important. I trust them. When I was looking for agents for my artists now, CAA is obviously who I would go to, because I trust Daryl, you know, and I know that whoever he surrounds with my artist is a good decision.
I love it. Goyo, estás de regreso. Qué bueno. ¿Podemos virar tu cámara? Porque está ahorita como que upside down.
Horizontal, yeah.
Ajá.
Ahora sí.
Ahí fue.
Angie, I wanted to say something. It's really interesting. I think that I've been really, and I don't know, I think it's lucky. I know that we hate that word, but I am going to say it because my story is unlike many other people. I've worked for strong women, actually. My bosses have been women for the majority of my career, I would say.
That's incredible.
Like many other people, right? So you have Maria Madrigal, who hired me back in 2000 at La Banda Elástica. You know, she was the publisher and founder with Emilio Morales. Then I went to Pure Music, Yvonne Gomez, back then, Yvonne Dresden now, who, phenomenal person, human being, sister, friend, mentor. Then from there, Delia Orjuela with BMI, you know, and an incredible force in our industry, tremendous just person, human being. And then Shalina Vargas at the time at iTunes, you know, iTunes, you know, and that was over 8 years ago. And so having these women, and now in artist management, Natasha Lynch, my boss, who's also a woman, and it's just an incredible journey to work for these strong women who have really helped me along the way of my career. And it's interesting because I hear many times, you know, about women and competitive and all of these things. And I've honestly never had that experience.
Wow.
Always been genuine, just care, love, mentorship of this is the path, you know, this is how I did it. This is, you know, and I don't know. I said, I'm lucky in that sense that I have these women in my career to not, I wouldn't say mold me, but help me, propel me. Right? And it says a lot, I think. And I don't know. It's great to have these women. And there's so many other women, you know, Angie Martinez, who's an amazing lawyer and a dear friend of mine. She's a mentor of mine to this day and a good friend.
OG. For sure, boss. But yeah, just wanted to mention that. That's beautiful, and I think it is extraordinary. I'll speak to my personal experience. I've worked for two kinds of women. I've worked for, and I do believe there's two kinds of women in corporate America: the ones that you've experienced, which propel you forward, uplift you, empower you, and I've been blessed to experience that. Shout out to Rocio Guerrero and Mimi Valdez, which are my two guiding forces and light forever and ever. So much love. But I've also experienced the opposite, and it's been painful, if we're going to be honest for a second here. But both of them teach you valuable lessons. They teach you what to do and what not to do. And so I've been blessed to have that experience. And it's very clear to me what we need to do to uplift the next generation. So it is extraordinarily, I love that that's been your experience. And those are all very powerful women who continue to give back, for sure. Goyo, estamos hablando de mentorship, de las figuras que te han ayudado en tu carrera, que te han brindado una mano para estar donde estás. Podemos darle flores en este momento a una figura maravillosa, puede ser femenina o no, en tu historia.
Bueno, afortunadamente he tenido la oportunidad de conocer a muchas mujeres increíbles en la industria que han sido mi motivación para seguir adelante y que en muchos momentos han sido, y bueno, tengo la oportunidad de tener a varias aquí en el panel, entre ellas a Marissa, que agradezco por el cariño y siempre la disponibilidad para enseñar muchas cosas. Recuerdo que la conocí en South by Southwest y recuerdo haber hablado mucho con ella. Yo no tenía ni idea cómo funcionaba BMI, no tenía ni idea de muchas cosas. Y recuerdo que ella y Poppy, Porfirio, también un día me invitó, por ejemplo, a un restaurante y me dijo, Goyo, la industria funciona así, los productores ganan esto, los otros ganan estos.
101.
Sí, exacto. Entonces sí he tenido muchas personas en el camino que me han ayudado muchísimo. Diego Toro, por ejemplo, que es ahora es parte de mi management y que trabajó con nosotros en Sony Colombia y que también como que ayudando a que resiste, mira, esta decisión no está tan mala por esto, o a veces se vuelven hasta tus padres en muchas cosas que a veces uno como artista tiene falencias o momentos de dificultad y todo, encontrar un abrazo, una mano amiga que te diga, vea, no se preocupe que vamos a hacer esto y lo vamos a sacar adelante. Juan Diego Medina de la industria Inc. También
Yeah.
podría decir mucho de Sony Music. También Isa de Jesús. Acabamos de hacer un documental en HBO con unos performances, o sea, fue un momento súper bonito para mí porque pude meterme en el estudio y también encontrar mucho de las rutas que yo quiero como solista, tener una persona como ella, ¿sí? Que ha tenido una experiencia de vida súper bonita para contar y para parar los pelos ahí en tu proyecto, acompañándote día y noche. La verdad, mucha gente. Y también tendría que decir que mi mamá se gana un espacio súper especial. Yo siempre le digo que ella es la primer disquera que yo he tenido.
Ay,
Y se
qué
ríe, y se ríe, pero en serio, my mom is like a management. Yo le digo como que
life
mamager,
management. Yeah.
mi mamager, ella es mi mamager porque todo el tiempo está conmigo. Yo tengo una hija, entonces ella es la que viaja con mi hija, y me dice, hija, no te rindas, no te preocupes que yo me quedo aquí haciendo tu papel y tu hija lo va a entender porque somos mujeres y nos toca salir por nuestros sueños y muchas cosas. Entonces yo tengo la gran experiencia de trabajar con grandes personas en la industria, obviamente también con grandes mujeres en la industria musical. Paola España, que ha sido mi jefe de prensa desde hace mucho tiempo, la quiero mucho y es alguien que se toma como muy, muy en serio el cómo manejar la imagen de alguien y sobre todo una mujer como yo que soy afrolatina y que en muchos espacios me ha tocado como ser como que the first leading lady of entertainment or
Claro,
Latin Grammy.
first.
Goyo, the first woman with Cadillac, haciendo un comercial de Cadillac afrolatina a nivel Estados Unidos. O sea, como que me ha tocado romper muchas barreras
Claro.
donde me ha tocado ser la mujer que representa. Entonces, encontrar que el power que muchas de ustedes me han dado, la experiencia de yo ver cómo crecen en sus trabajos, en sus lugares, también me hace motivar día a día para poder seguir adelante y bueno, seguir cumpliendo lo que me sueño.
Hermoso, gracias por compartir eso. Qué belleza. Iveliesse, no sé si quieres compartir alguna shout out a tu mentor.
Mira, a mí me encanta oír todas estas historias de mujeres ayudando a otras mujeres porque en mi carrera han sido hombres. Como dice Yvette, han sido hombres y se los agradezco infinitamente porque hay veces que you gotta be the guy, you know? So I learned to be the guy from the guys. Y muchas veces un consejo que les doy a las chicas que trabajan conmigo es el momento de que no haya una silla en esa mesa, you get your own chair, girl, and you sit down. Y
Yeah.
si están haciendo chistes, just throw a chiste, claro, no chistes que sean sexistas, por supuesto. Y si los tienes que úsalos también, déjalos saber. Pero sí, shout out a los hombres de la industria que me han ayudado, me han enseñado y no han visto en mí ningún tipo de limitación porque soy mujer. So,
Love that. Yeah, no, it's true. And it's something Becky G always says this too. We've had conversations about this. Like when you get to have a seat at the table, that's great, but you also need to create your own table with seats for everybody else, but women. specifically, because we all know the work that still needs to be done. And we're gonna need a separate panel for that. Pero right now it's about celebration here. And I wanna talk about your individual superpowers. I wanna hone in your individual superpowers. This is the Wonder Women of Latin Music panel. We're gonna talk about that individual, that something about each of you that you feel is the secret sauce to where you are. I'm going to start with Goyo. Seeing all the super women behind you too. I just love that feeling.
Bueno, yo creo que uno de los poderes que una mujer como yo practica a diario, por ejemplo, para mí es la resiliencia. Yo creo que eso es un poder que uno puede aprender, que uno no nace con ese poder, pero que se aprende del ejemplo de otras personas. Y también se aprende cuando uno le ha tocado como que empezar o abrir puertas o ser el primero en algo y como que esperar hasta que pase ese momento, ¿sí? Entonces es echar como en tu bolso muchas cosas que a veces uno piensa que tienen que ser cuando uno quiere, como uno quiere, y que a veces no se puede, pero sí tú puedes crear tu propia ruta, ¿sí? Entonces, como una mujer que ha como que roto paradigmas, he llegado a espacios donde la gente, hasta yo misma me aterro de haber llegado, yo creo que la resiliencia es uno de esos poderes que todas tenemos y que pienso yo que debemos seguir desarrollando porque es lo que nos va a tener ahí en la línea del frente.
Nos inspiras todos los días con eso. Eso es muy, muy verdadero. Villano, your superpower.
Yo pienso que, y tiene que ver también con lo que estaba diciendo Goyo, yo siento que yo recientemente me di cuenta que la mayoría de la gente tiene más miedo que tú. Como que, y eso es algo que we don't factor in. Y como que saber eso y mantenerlo como que en mi cabeza me ha ayudado mucho como que a tirar para adelante y como que llegar quizás antes a la meta o atreverme a hacer cosas que no se han hecho o que la gente tiene miedo a hacer. Pues porque todo el mundo tiene como que miedos en su cabeza, eso es normal. Así que en mi caso yo creo que es eso, como que esa realización de que todo el mundo tiene miedo, ¿me entiendes? Es bregar con él y sacarle ventaja.
I love that. That's amazing. Emlo.
Thank you. I'm just getting inspired by everybody's stories. I love it. I love to hear this. Empathy. I think my superpower is empathy. You know, really being present, and when I have a person in front of me and truly being there for them, listening to them, you know, and tapping into their energy, you know. I think that has a lot. It's always guided me throughout my career. And I think it's just genuine to who I am with anybody that crosses my path, you know, from, you know, the person at the supermarket or, you know, someone tending, you know, I don't know, a stewardess or whatever, you know, an artist, a manager, you know, publicist, anybody. It's just the human connection. And when you can tap into empathy and come from a genuine place, I think that's where magic happens.
You're in the right business for that, or the right, you know, role, I would say. This is a business built on relationships. So if you have that, I mean, that's incredible. Yvette, superpower.
I think it would kind of be described as just being as real as it gets. I just like to be able to really identify with, you know, what is going on with a person or a situation and really just say how I feel about it, not in a disrespectful or negative way, but just anybody I work with knows I'm going to say exactly what I feel, and I'm looking out for their best interest, especially when it comes to management. And people appreciate that, or at least the artists that I work with. That's why we're so close, because I'm not that yes person. And throughout my career, I'm not afraid to say if I have to go against the grain, my thoughts on things. And I think it's helped me get to where I am, and it makes me a better person. And I can go home at night and go to sleep and know that I'm doing, you know, what I feel is best in my heart.
And it's amazing, and that's rare. I mean, how many times do we see some of the greatest artists downfall because of being surrounded by yes people? So it's a blessing. Your clients are lucky to have your voice in the room.
Thank you.
Iveliesse.
Mira, mi poder, yo creo que es un poder que tenemos todas las mujeres y es el poder de la intuición. Your intuition, you have it there. You know what is right and you know what is wrong. You know where, if you have to go left or if you have to go right. But one thing that we need to do as women, and I tell this also to the young ladies that work with me, you have to find quiet time. Because right now there's so much, and in our industry is so much, and sometimes we're doing 10 things at the same time. We're looking at the Instagram, we're listening to new music, we're baking a chicken, we're taking care of the kids, we're in the airport. I mean, a million and one things. But we need to find time for ourselves to just be quiet. And for me, it's 5 o'clock in the morning because that's the only time that it happens. And just listen to that voice. Some people call it God, some people call it Allah, some people call it your God, but it's there. You just have to listen to it. And that's the superpower, intuition.
That's amazing. No, I love that. And I feel like oftentimes we know when we're going against, in the times that in our career, I think we can also be like, I didn't really listen to that voice and it was there. But you learn the hard way sometimes. That's amazing. And I want to wrap it up with a really fun question, because this is a music conference here. And I want to know, what is your anthem? That song that no matter what era, what artist, you listen to it and it just speaks to you de aquí. For
Just
me,
one?
it is, I know, right? We need another panel for this one. But for me, I'll kick it off as Vivir Mi Vida by Marc Anthony. To me, it is almost like a religious song for me. It speaks to me right here. So I'd love to hear yours, your anthems.
I think mine, every time that something amazing happens, like, yes, I did this, I listen to Neo's Miss Independent.
Oh, I love that song. Yes, that's a good one. Who else? Villano, I know you got one. You got many, but
I like a million of them. That's the problem. Como que no yo creo que tengo demasiadas artistas y demasiada música que me llega, y creo que siempre estoy conectada escuchando algo.
pues la última, la más reciente que te hizo sentir así, invencible.
Invencible. Yo
Que te
misma.
recuerda el tema de Goyo, Invencible.
Pero, wow, yo te podría decir, si tengo que escuchar, o sea, si tengo que escoger una como tal, me gusta mucho la música de donde soy, me gusta mucho la música del Caribe, y siempre estoy como tapping into that, Celia Cruz, Raulín Rodríguez, siempre estoy como, y en mis momentos así bien míos, como que escucho la música de mi abuela, la música con la que yo crecí, como que es lo que más me centra.
I love it. Marissa, your anthem.
Okay, you're gonna laugh. Well, you're not gonna laugh. It's just that it's fairly new, but when I heard it, I was like, oh my God, I see myself in this song so much. And I brought a tear to my eye. And every time I'm working out, every time I'm like just in that moment of like, I got this, you know. Amy Malley, I Am Woman. You know, just the lyrics speak to me so much. Yes, I'm fearless. Yes, I got this. Yes, I'm sexy. Yes, I'm.
I love it.
Everything, how I feel as a woman, you know, and I'm divine. Yes, we are divine, girl. You know what I mean?
It's true.
We got to remind ourselves of that, and that's why I love the lyrics of that song, because we tend to, you know, not realize our divinity and what we bring to the plate every day. And we got to celebrate that. We got to celebrate our powers. We got to celebrate each other. And that's why I love this panel so much, because it's a celebration of women and empowerment. everything we're all doing, you know? Yeah.
I love it. And I want to give special recognition to you too, your journey and sharing that and the transformation of, you know, the physicality. Like it's really extraordinary. And I know it's something you speak to often and you've shared that journey. So shout out to you. Shout out to you for inspiring.
You're going to make me cry. Don't do it, Anne.
Well, I've done my job right. So.
But I appreciate it. It's been a long road, and I feel that I'm at my happiest that I've ever been in my life.
I could see that.
Good place.
It's radiating.
Thank you.
Love that. Goyo, anthem, himno.
Bueno, es difícil porque tengo varios himnos que me hacen como que subir el ánimo. Hay canciones como de las mujeres, como del soul o de disco, me encanta I Will Survive, y como que la pongo y yo como que me siento como Donna Summer, así, me encanta y me levanta mucho el ánimo. Obviamente también las canciones que son muy de mi tierra, que me hacen como que poner los pies en la tierra siempre y como pensar de dónde vengo y para dónde voy. Entonces para mí también es muy como que muy powerful de dónde vengo yo, de Town. Y de hecho cuando me inspiro, como cuando quiero cantar algo, también siento que es importante como tener canciones de ese tipo. Y uno de mi primer single como solista se llama Na Na Na, porque estoy enseñando a muchas personas a que digan no, porque decir no no es a veces como siempre algo negativo, sino a veces uno dice no para poder seguir avanzando. Entonces me gusta que las canciones tengan eso, porque yo sé que casi siempre hay canciones que se vuelven la banda sonora de tu vida porque te hacen sentir de una manera en un momento específico. Entonces para mí son como que muy importantes.
Y hay tantos himnos que tú has contribuido también, o sea, de donde vengo yo. Ese es un tema maravilloso. I always go back to it. En ciertos momentos que estamos atravesando como humanidad, como cultura, es un himno. Y gracias por todos los himnos, básicamente. Y también Na 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 está on fire. Así que bueno, hay mucha magia, hay mucho arte, definitivamente. Hay que hacer una playlist, amigos de LAMC, vamos a hacer una playlist de nuestros anthems. Cada una, we can get at least 5.
Yeah.
I love it. Bueno, we've reached the end of this conversation. I could really talk to you forever and hopefully in person also very soon. Vamos a bailar en el LAMC, hopefully juntas en persona en el parque, como es debido. Gracias por su tiempo, por sus sabiduría, sus anécdotas y me alegro que hayamos compartido este momento, chicas.